So let's talk about fear because fear comes up so much when it comes to dating, whether it's the fear of being rejected, whether it's the fear of not meeting the right person, the fear of being alone. There's so many different things that tend to come up. And if you're in that place where you're single and you're afraid of what might happen when it comes to dating, I've got your back. Okay. We're going to be diving into all things fear today and also how you can overcome that and feel a lot more confident when it comes to dating. So, if we haven't met before, my name is Lily. I'm a relationship and dating coach, and I support hundreds of people like you to be able to heal from past relationships, heal from past trauma, and go on and enjoy healthy, loving, long lasting relationships. So, we are going to really dive in today. So, the first thing I want to say is it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to have fear. So many people have it. No one really talks about it. And we want to dive into, the fear and also how to accept it, how to release it, how to process it, and how to feel stronger when it comes to dating. Because then you can enjoy dating. You can enjoy being able to meet different people and also enjoy a healthy, loving relationship because fear really takes a lot away from the dating experience. And I also, just on another side note, I also think there's a lot of tactical advice when it comes to dating, especially in the men's industry, which is really interesting. You've got the pickup artist industry and all those different things. Can I just say, relationships and dating, it's not about manipulation or tactical advice. Okay, I really, really despise that. The reason I despise it is because if you're having to create a connection through manipulation or through techniques, how do you want people to fall in love with you, not your technique. So saying those 10 words to make, to these 10 things to make them fall in love with you, they're falling in love with the words, they're not falling in love with you. Okay. So please, any tactical advice that you've learned in the past, please let it go because it's going to put more pressure on you to be able to meet someone who is right. And it's going to take you more away from being able to create a genuine, authentic connection. Okay, because the truth is, real love, you're going to be loved, flaws and all. Okay, that's what it's all about. So let's dive in after my little rant there. So often when we have a look at fears, I'm going to talk about a lot of different fears, and I'm going to go through different things that you're going to be able to learn to be able to overcome these things, because I see this again and again and again. So first off is that fear of rejection. Okay. Because the truth is, it's not the fear of not being able to necessarily meet the right person. It's the fear of not being accepted. It's the fear of being rejected. It's the fear of just not finding what you're looking for or not being enough for that kind of person. So with rejection's got a very interesting element about it because we can only feel rejection if there's something that we don't fully accept. So, for example, if you are screaming out and you're saying 2 + 2 = 4, and someone goes, no, that's ridiculous, that's not the answer, you're not going to feel afraid of that. Whereas if you're saying 2 + 1 = 4, and someone goes, that's not right, I don't accept that answer, you're going to feel odd about it. You're not going to feel good about it. And I think with rejection itself, there's got to be a good level of acceptance for who you are as a person. You've got to feel good about yourself. You've got to accept everything about yourself. Because as soon as you do, you have a truthful view of you as a person. You've got an understanding of your strengths. You've got an understanding of your weaknesses. You've got an understanding of the neutral bits in between, because it's not all strengths and weaknesses. And when you've got that and you fully accept that, everything's okay. You're not interested in the people who are going to literally pick away at your weaknesses and say you're not good enough. You're not going to be interested in those kind of people. You're going to be interested in the people that accept you for who you are. And this is really important because I see so many people when they have that fear of rejection, they go into relationships and they're working hard to earn love. They're trying to compensate for their weaknesses. And the thing is, if you're in a situation where you feel like you've got to earn love or you've got to do things for love, you're always going to find yourself in those patterns of being in a conditional love kind of relationship where everything is transactional, or the relationship feels draining, or you don't feel seen or appreciated in that relationship because everything's focused on what you can do versus who you are. I know I'm giving you lots of insights here, but it's good to be able to understand this, because in a relationship where you fully accept yourself and your partner fully accepts and embraces and loves you for who you are, you're in that place of unconditional love. It's not about what you can do. It's more about who you are. Okay. And that's where relationship feels easy. It doesn't feel like, oh, I have to work at this, or I have to be, mindful of this. Everything comes natural because you've got a desire to create that, I don't know, like a desire to create that connection. I'm trying to think of the words to be able to explain it. It's not because you have to, it's because you naturally want to. It's also a byproduct of just who you are as a person, where you want to be able to enjoy that relationship, give to that relationship. But there's a natural balance to it. And that's what you want to be able to achieve. It's not about, oh, if you do this, you're going to do this for me. It's not about that at all. So if you're going to go into something that's transactional, you need to be really aware about how much you accept about yourself versus feeling like you need to compensate by doing things and showing how useful you can be in a relationship. And this also falls back into feeling like you're not enough. Okay. You don't want to be in that place where someone is trying to figure out ways to manipulate you to be able to do all these different things, where you end up drained and you end up worse off after that relationship finishes. Because often those relationships finish quite quickly, usually after a few years, or sometimes people can stay in those patterns for a very, very long time. And it can be emotionally, mentally, physically damaging. Okay. And the reason I say physically is because even if that person's not physically abusive, your body will produce so much cortisol that it will have an impact on your body. Okay. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the fear of repeating past mistakes. So when we think about fear of past mistakes, I see this so often where people come out of toxic relationships and they literally try to go for something completely different, and they convince themselves because they're going to go through, they're going for a relationship that's completely different, that's enough to change the pattern. It's not. Because when we think about like dating patterns, people have dating patterns for a reason. It's like a mini routine. It's not something you're necessarily conscious of. It's something that you almost subconsciously recognize. And you just end up falling into that pattern and falling into that routine. It's like a role that people tend to fall into. And this is where you get the overcompensating and all these different things. So when it comes to past mistakes, it's being aware of what are you doing, what happened, and how can you prevent that. And I'm going to shift the topic slightly, because sometimes when we see things from a slightly different view, it can help us apply this to something different. So for example, for me, I've ended up going to a coach that helps me with my nutrition and also helps me with exercise and helps me to lose weight. Yes, I know about calories. Yes, I know about exercise. Yes, I get the fundamentals of it, but the intricacies and how to make it easier and how to make it fun and how to make it doable and how to make it sustainable and make it part of my routine, that was the support I needed. That was the support that needed to be tailored and personalized to me. So from the past, I was going through toxic patterns with my diet. So I'd be doing serious calorie yo-yo dieting, sticking to it for a couple of weeks, and then, going backwards, which is not ton. And as a result of being able to dive into and working with a coach, I've been able to sustain weight loss. I've been able to enjoy exercise. I've been able to even drink wine and go on lovely weekends, not worrying about what I'm eating, and still lose weight. And that's the power of having more than just the fundamentals of understanding what's going on. Okay. So when we apply this to dating, it's having a look at what patterns have been coming up. What's the type of partner that you've been attracted to in the past? What are the common patterns that you tend to notice in a relationship? Things like, have your past partners been emotionally intelligent or cared about your feelings or cared about your goals or supportive of you? Have a look at these things, because this is what needs to be dived into in order to change it. Because the thing is, when you think about dating, no one turns around and says, hey, I'm emotionally unavailable. No one turns around and goes, hey, I'm going to make your life a living hell. Or, hey, I've got, past domestic violence tendencies. No one puts that on their dating profiles. No one shares that straight away. It's all the honeymoon period in the beginning. And it's so important to know what you're looking for in the beginning stages, so you're able to see this quickly and make a very good informed decision, so you're not wasting your time, you're not damaging your emotions, you're not damaging yourself mentally. So where to begin? Of course, I'm here, you can work with me. But I'm going to give you a few things to be able to go through, so you've got a bit of an understanding of where to begin. So to start off with, I want you to think about you as a person. And I want you to think about, how comfortable are you with being you? Okay, how comfortable are you? Because I tend to find that people tend to go one or two ways. They either go through the thing of saying straight away that, no, I'm not comfortable. There's these things I don't like about myself. There's this about my story. I'm not where I want to be in life. They tend to be very open and honest about where they're at. And then you have the other people who tend to be like, yep, I'm fine. I'm happy with who I am. And it's the fear of going into emotions. Okay, the fear of being able to go, okay, what's actually going under the surface? Yes, you can be logical. Yes, you can be, focus on these different things and say the right words. But what happens when you go deeper into the feelings? So to start off with, it's taking your time to understand who you are, and do you fully accept yourself and notice those feelings? The next part is actually allowing yourself to emotionally check in. Because when we think about fear, it's not necessarily the fear itself that tends to give you the most burden. It's more about, how do you process it? How do you embrace the fear to the point where it's not damaging your life, where it's not holding you hostage anymore? And this tends to be a major thing, because it's not just fear that tends to come up in life. Life has so many different emotions, and it's so important to be able to process these things. It's so important to process those emotions so you feel comfortable. Because when you think about it, emotions are like a little guidance system. It tells you when things feel good, it tells you when things feel bad. The problem is, when you've gone through things that feel painful, often people go, right, okay, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not feeling this anymore. And they push those emotions away, thinking whatever they're feeling isn't right. And this is a pattern I tend to see with people who tend to have like a lot of fears when it comes around dating. They've been told so many times that they're too sensitive when they were children, or even in their relationships. They're too needy, they're too clingy, they feel too much, they're so emotional, and they get labeled as all these different things. But the truth is, it's more about, your emotions are absolutely perfect, they're absolutely valid. It's, how do you start to listen to them? Because often, a lot of people who have gone through that kind of level of name calling, of being too sensitive and too this and too that, they tend to try and mask and hide their emotions. And they often fear them, because they're afraid of what could happen if they listen to them, and how they could go in the downward spiral and all these different things. But the truth is, the emotions are actually key. It's a part of vulnerability that allows you to understand what you need, understand how to communicate those things. But here's the kicker. In a healthy relationship, you're going to be accepted, your emotions are going to be accepted. In an unhealthy relationship, you are told your emotions are completely out of line. You need to prioritize the other person's. And this tends to be another pattern of the fear of repeating those past mistakes in relationships, because often a lot of people will go ahead and find an emotionally unavailable or not very emotionally intelligent partner that can't understand their emotions because they're always expecting to be prioritized instead. So before I digress, because I'm going through a lot here, and I'm mindful that I want to be able to share enough for you to be able to work on and to be able to work with without overloading you. So to start off with, I want you to think about how you are talking to yourself. Okay, how can you give yourself that reassurance? How can you start accepting yourself, accepting your emotions, accepting the fears? And the other part of with fear is it's what do you need in order to feel safe? For me personally, I love to be able to have knowledge. Okay, my safety is within having knowledge and having an understanding. And this is one of the reasons why I support people who also have that tendency of needing that knowledge, needing that understanding of how relationships work, understanding how to date, understanding how to trust that gut feeling. Because often I used to find like I had really good intuition when it came to dating, but I was crap at trusting it. And one of the things that I really love about what I do is that I help people to have that knowledge, to understand what their intuition is picking up on and how you can logically see it in real time. Because it's so easy to know that it's so easy to have that feeling of going, oh, something feels off right now. But what tends to happen is our bias tends to get in the way and we tend to go, oh, well, maybe they're just a bit nervous, or, well, it's the first day, let's just see how it goes. And we ignore what's going on. But if you're able to go, oh, actually, no, I noticed he was rude to that waitress, or actually, I noticed that he was talking very negatively about lots of different people, or various different signs, you're able to go, okay, I can see why I was having that feeling and how I can start to trust it. And this will also support you to stay away from those bad relationships. So the main thing about fear, okay, I'm going to finish on this note. The main thing about fear, it's not about not feeling it or not addressing it. It's about understanding what do you need to be able to fully stand in your power to get what you actually desire. The thing with fear is it will never disappear until you face it dead on. So if this is something that you are ready to tackle now, book a love life analysis. I'd love to see what we can do to be able to support you to break through those together. And the nice thing is I have all the techniques that are going to support you to break down these things really easily with very little pain and in a way that you're going to be able to create and enjoy a very healthy, loving relationship in the process. So let's kind of go back. So first off, I want you to be able to start to recognize how you feel about yourself. I want you to start to accept all those amazing things about you, and even the not so amazing things about you. I want you to start to think about past relationships. What were the main issues that happened in those relationships? And then if you wanted to, book a love life analysis and we'll go through the patterns that you've experienced, and I can share a few things on how you can overcome them. So I hope this has been useful. And if there's any questions, feel free to just drop me a message or talk to me on the love life analysis and we can go through those together. Right. So take care. Thank you so much for listening and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.